What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another panel show and quite a bit to discuss today. But let's introduce our guests first and foremost, both returning guests to the panel. We'll start off with Ariane. How you doing, my friend?
Good, but my camera's normally like always. I can't tell why it's like this sometimes. It looks like it's a little bit rusty, but I'm doing good.
You still gutted about the Iran's hopes in the Asia Cup? What happened over there?
Look, man, that game had me in pieces. I mean, that the way we lost to that, I was cursing the right back that played, whatever Almo is. I don't know. I was cursing him all day long. I was saying some very nasty things in my TV, but yeah. The good thing is that I ended up, if Iran were to go through to that final, I'd have to watch that instead of the Brighton game. So now I didn't have that dilemma to deal with, at least. So every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah, to be fair, we were following South Korea the whole way through, and we had the same issues going into the final. But yeah, I was really hoping South Korea could do the business with Sonny, but it wasn't to be, and Qatar took home the trophy. Well, the trophy was already home; they just lifted it at home. But Amir, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually feeling very positive about things. After that last gasp winner, that robbery that we pulled off, I'm starting to feel confident and feeling good about Spurs again. So yeah, feeling good.
Happy days, because we're on our way back from Everton. Both of us probably weren't feeling too confident and positive on the way back from there. But I think with a lot of players coming back now, with our squad coming together again, there are lots of reasons to feel positive about Spurs. And we'll start talking about the Brighton game, and we'll start off with you, Ariane. Do you think that Spurs were lucky to take the 3 points on the day?
I don't think so. I think what kind of happened on the reaction to the performance was a lot of negativity from the previous performances and a bit of, obviously the scoreline is important, but there was a very large kind of over importance. I don't know what the word is. There's a word that I can't think of right now, but people were kind of making the scoreline until the 96th minute too big, because I think more than anything, Brighton were lucky to be 1-0 ahead. Not that they were playing poorly. They were playing better than us in the first 10-15 minutes where they did end up getting that goal, but it came from penalty. And after that penalty, they created absolutely nothing besides the fattiness at the very end. Besides that, they did nothing all game. And it was some periods of possession dominance that didn't amount to much. And when we had the ball, I think especially when towards the beginning of that, right before the Kulusevski substitution, the triple substitution, and kind of towards the tail end of that first half, I thought every time we got the ball, we looked very dangerous going forward. And there was plenty of times where you played this one pass properly, though you played even some misses just with this one extra thing, and we score on another day plenty more. If Son, for example, instead of Richarlison, I'm wearing a Richarlison shirt right now. If instead of Richarlison, it was Son up top, it would have been a completely different game. I think if we had his finishing, his technique, his first touch, but Richarlison brings something different to the game, but I don't think that's what we needed that game, and so we struggled a little bit. But in the end, guess who ended up creating that goal anyway? It was Son. So I think because of some personnel issues and some catching up the substitution up to speed issues, just some small things here and there, and we got the result we deserved. I don't think it was lucky. I think it was coming, and I think we left it late, and that's sometimes what happens.
You said it was coming, but I mean, when we did score that goal in the last minute, it was against the run of play, wasn't it?
I disagree. I don't think so. Actually, no, because I'm trying to kind of recap the game in my head. Yes, there was a period of possession that they had, but I think when we scored that goal, it was actually right after their kind of period where we had like a good 6-7 minutes on the ball. And I think I'm a little bit it's a little bit different for me because I feel like a lot of people I was watching the game with my dad. I was telling my dad the entire game, I was like, I feel like we're going to make one. I feel like it's coming. All game I had a feeling it was coming. So for me, I guess it was a little bit expected in terms of like, oh, I called it. But I honestly don't think it was against the run of play even in that moment because I remember we had, especially during extra time, it was all Spurs. It didn't look during extra time. It didn't look like Brighton were going to get a winner. That's not what I felt. In around the 80th minute, it looked like Brighton might have gotten a winner, but not during extra time. So I don't think it came against the run of play.
Before we continue, Ariane, some people are complaining about a bit of a low volume on your mics. If you just maybe slightly pull it towards your mouth, that'd be great. I think just a slight reposition.
Okay.
No worries.
Maybe that's better. I don't know.
in terms of what you're saying, I kind of did felt that we got away with one. I felt that, you know, in the last 20 minutes of the game, they had a few really good chances. Ansu Fati probably should have done better with that chance he had. I think there was another one then in there as well. And me sitting at the stadium, I did kind of, at the end of the game, feel like we did get away with one there. But, I mean, where do you sit on it, Amir?
Yeah, I think I'm siding with you there, Ben, a little bit, you know, with that one. For me, although I agree with Ariane that I don't think it was luck that, you know, we won the game. We didn't, you know, it wasn't a Liverpool where we got a dodgy offside and we won the game. No, it wasn't that. We won it last minute with a, you know, a bit of pure magic there by Sonny and Johnson sneaking in at the back post. But there were times in that game where Brighton were just absolutely dominating us, you know, and our press wasn't exactly working and they were passing it around way too easy for my liking. I think if they had a bit more of a threat up front, you know, on another day, we would have lost that or drawn. So I think we did get away with one in a way, and I think we rode our luck a little bit. And you know, this is the thing, right? It's all well and good. We got the victory in the end, and I'm buzzing, and it's building blocks for Wolves, 100%. But for me, I want to go in. I want to see us build on it, and when we go to Wolves, you know, like what I was saying to you, Ben, you know, I want to see us get to a game by the 70th minute or 80th minute and we're 2 up. That's where we need to be. Look at the other teams around us that are going out slaying teams. You know, your Arsenal, City and Liverpools are going out and they're putting teams to bed. We're not quite there yet. And that's where we need to build on. It's not that, you know, fantastic, we've got the last minute winner, but we need to build on it if we want to be, you know, in contention and really challenge for that top 4. We need to make sure we're coming home with the points from all these types of games. You know, teams like Wolves, Palace, Luton's, all these teams that are below us in the league. We need to be putting them to bed. Simple as that. If we want 4th.
I kind of, yeah. I mean, obviously, I agree with that, but in terms of back to the point, like if we were lucky to win, and I think Brighton would have been lucky to win, and I think a draw was probably a fair result on reflection of the game if you take into account everything, the whole 90 minutes. You know, both teams had spells and periods of being on top. You're looking at the chances created and the XG. I mean, the XG wasn't too dissimilar between the both teams. I think Brighton was like 1.25 or something, and Spurs was like 1.5 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Spurs did have more shots. Sorry, Ariane?
You can look at the open play expected goals. Brighton had like 0.4 on open play.
Yeah, I get that. But, you know, I also think that Brighton did create better chances throughout the game. I do think that, like, that Ansu Fati chance I bring it back to. Go on.
Well, but, I mean, that's the only chance you can actually think. Like, think about the game, right? And think about another Brighton chance that wasn't the Ansu Fati chance.
Vicario made a couple saves. Vicario did make a couple saves.
Yeah, in the first half. He did in the first half. One from Matoma, one really early from Welbeck. Apart from that, there was one late one from Buonanotte when he had a shot deflected wide, which could have been dangerous. I did think when Spurs were on top, we were better than Brighton when Brighton were on top. That's what I would say. I think the way we played in the last bit of the first half and the first, 25 minutes of the second half was better than how Brighton played when they were on top. I thought we were causing them a lot more trouble. We were more dangerous. The goals we scored were obviously really good moves as well. You've got to take that into account. We actually opened them up with some really good football, which Brighton weren't. I mean, Brighton did well, but I don't think they did the kind of moves, obviously, that we did to open them up. And I think when we were in our period where we were dominating, we were pressing really high and we were opening them and we were creating chances, I just thought we looked better than Brighton did when Brighton were on top. Obviously, you never want to have any period of the game where you're playing second fiddle and Brighton are dominating and we're struggling to get the ball, and there were definitely periods of that. But Brighton are one of the best teams in the league on the ball. That can happen if you're not completely on your game and you're not as physical as maybe we were in certain periods. I think it was kind of definitely an ebb and flow in terms of who had control of the game. But in terms of chances created, I think definitely Spurs, for me, created more chances than Brighton did. I think when Brighton had their moments to press us in really aggressively, and when we had our moments, I think we did it more consistently. I think Brighton had a couple of moments where they obviously, in the first half, they won possession on in our half a couple of times and created chances. But I think we did it loads of times, but there was a number of times we didn't take full advantage of it, which was quite frustrating. We had Maddison, playing beautiful Trivela through balls to Richarlison, which he should have made more of. We had a lot of moments where we actually had a lot of chances, but we forget about them because they didn't amount to much. But I think actually we probably created enough to win the game when we were on top, but because we didn't take advantage of those moments, then when Brighton take control and it's 1-1, you kind of get that feeling, we kind of had it coming. Brighton are back on top now, and we didn't take advantage when we had the advantage in the game. So we kind of got what we deserve when we're not winning. And when Brighton had that period of dominance, that I'm not going to lie, in the last 15 minutes, a part of me did feel like I'll take a draw now because Brighton looked like they weren't going to score. But they didn't create much, which from Ariane said. They had the chance from Fati, and they kind of had a half chance from Buonanotte. But by and large, we actually defended quite well in those last 20 minutes. And Brighton did struggle to create. And then you got to say the goal we scored was a brilliant goal. That has to be taken into account. It was really great build-up, from the back, all the way from Maddison to Son to Richarlison, all linking up. Everything was perfect. It was a great counter-attacking goal. And when Brighton are going to have that dominance, right, and they're going to push forward, they're going to leave that space in behind. They're going to cause risk because Brighton are a team that don't sit back and just settle for a draw. They're going to try and get the 3 points. And if they're going to do that, then they're always susceptible to getting hit by good quality counter-attack, and that's what we provided. So, I don't think you can say... I think on the balance of play, definitely, I would say a draw was probably a fair result, but I'm not coming away from it saying, we were terrible and we definitely got away with one and we definitely didn't deserve to win. I think with the goal we scored was a great goal, and I'm just happy that we got the win. I don't think it was a case of we definitely got lucky. I think on the balance, draw was probably fair, but I don't think it was a complete robbery, like some people are saying.
No, that's completely fair. But if we don't score that goal in the last minute, right, we're not sitting there after the game being like, how did we draw that game? We definitely deserved to win. It wasn't a performance like that, and you got to give credit to the way Brighton came to our stadium, and for periods of that game, they completely out-footballed us. They were passing it around us like we weren't there, especially in those first 25 minutes. I was like, what the hell is going on here? How are they passing it around us like that? And so in that sense, we were a bit lucky to win because a draw was a fair result.
I think kind of what it is, and saying a draw is a fair result. A draw was absolutely a fair result, but I think it's one of those where a draw is a fair result. But if there was a team to win it, it would have been Spurs. You're not saying a draw is the fair result, and then Brighton were the team likelier to win. You know what I mean? It's one of those where it's like, if I had to pick a team that deserved to win this more, you would have picked Spurs. I would say I would have picked Spurs as well. And I felt like we were going to get one in the whole, because I felt one coming. One thing I wanted to kind of point out was, I think a lot of the biggest thing responsible for the performance, everyone's saying performance, was there was a period right after we scored, right after the triple substitution, and I was screaming at my TV. I lost my voice, and you can hear it during the fan show. I did not have a voice because I was screaming the whole time. Nobody ran for 15 minutes. I didn't see one person sprint. I didn't see I don't know what that was. It literally felt like kind of during Conte and Jose ball, when as soon as we scored, we would just sit and hold out. And I don't know what it was literally. And it was players who hadn't even been during this. Maddison didn't run. Udogie didn't run. Sarr wasn't. I don't know what on earth happened there, but for some reason, and it wasn't. And credit to Brighton how they played, but it didn't even have anything to do with how Brighton were playing. Because even when we had the ball and there was no pressure, you would see nobody was moving into spaces like we'd been. I don't know, for some reason, 15 minutes right after we scored. And anybody who has the match replay can go watch it. For 15 minutes, nobody ran. I don't know what that was.
Just to counteract that, Barry, and the three players you mentioned, Maddison was set to be taken off due to fatigue, and then Udogie pulled up due to cramp, so Maddison had to stay on. And then Udogie, you mentioned Udogie, Sarr, and and Maddison, right? Sarr was clearly knackered on the 70th minute. He was giving the ball away at that point. He was clearly very tired. Maddison, as I said, was set to be taken off because he was so knackered, but he had to stay on because Udogie, the other player you mentioned, he picked up cramp and he went off instead for Ben Davies. So there was clearly a lot of fatigue settling in that period. I think that definitely contributed, and that can happen against a very intense team like Brighton. You got to remember, everyone's saying, "Oh, Brighton played through us." Brighton played great football and they kept the ball. Look, that's what Brighton do. They're a brilliant footballing team. They're also ahead of us not ahead of us, but they're further down the line when it comes to being together as a team. They've been being together now for nearly 18 months under De Zerbi. So they're much more of a well-oiled machine in terms of how they play. They know their positions. They know their football a lot better than we do. Not to say that we're not good. We are good and we're doing brilliant to be at the level we are at the moment, but doesn't mean that we should be ahead of a team who've been together for 18 months just because we're doing well. I know we have better players, don't get me wrong, and the way we play football hopefully is more conducive going forward to winning games and stuff like that, but Brighton are a very, very well coached team. De Zerbi is a very intense manager. He's been he's been well lauded for the last 18 months as being one of the best attacking managers in the league and for what he's done with Brighton. So it's no surprise to me, even though they have had a mixed season in terms of results, that they can come to the Tottenham Stadium and be confident in the way they're playing and have periods of dominance, because they were waiting for us, Brighton. They wanted us to play how we played. They want us to press them. They want us to go at them, because what it's going to do is it's going to allow them to play through the press. They're one of the best press-resistant teams in the league. So we kind of played into their hands a bit, but to counter that, we knew we were going to play into their hands, and we had to be prepared for that. And at some periods we weren't, but we did kind of grow into the game, and we did end up taking control at times, and that has to be respected.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm really happy you actually mentioned that, because it's one of those things where it's like, look, you have to remember that our team is going through a bunch of physical limitations and a bunch like Udogie. He's not been injured, but he's been playing 90 minutes every game pretty much. Mm-hmm. So that's one way. He's fatigued. Sarr just came back from an international tournament. Maddison just came back from injury. And the reason I mentioned those players, Porro as well. The reason I kind of mentioned those players specifically, though, is because they weren't the ones that were under Jose and Conte. So I was like, it can't be coached. It can't be habit. It has to be another reason. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's like, oh, well, there you go. There's the reason, right? These players, they're either just coming back from injury, or they've had to fill in for an injury crisis, so they're playing every fucking game, or they just came back from an international tournament, like, some who had to sit on the bench. So that's probably one of the reasons where, again, you're saying, oh, why was the performance so lackluster? It's like, look, these players are complete. It's like a second preseason. Someone I speak to last kind of referred to this period as like a second kind of preseason for us, where we're getting a lot of players back, and we have to kind of get them back up to speed again for a bunch of different reasons, because we're going to have more squad depth. We're going to have players who are coming back from tournaments, injuries, all that stuff. So we have to kind of need them all together another time. And you can see why, like you said, it's a little bit ebb and flow, because we're kind of giving it away, and we have to kind of understand each other a bit better again.
Yeah, and it's weird, isn't it? Like, even in that game, there's still like combinations that we haven't seen together yet. Like, isn't that the first time we've seen Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison together? Like, is it like, even when we're halfway through the season, like, that's going to keep happening because we've had so many injuries throughout the season. So, like, there's still a kind of, that's what I'm saying. Like, Brighton have been together for so long, yet I know we're 7 months into the project, we're still having players who haven't even played together yet, like, kind of find their rhythm with each other. And I'm not saying it's a massive excuse as to why you shouldn't be winning games, or why you're playing badly, but it's just a process you have to go through. And the fact that we're still picking up points and wins, I think, is something to be lauded, rather than something that, oh, we're not as good as Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal. Well, of course we're not. Why would we be at this stage?
But we're playing a Brighton side who have picked up 12 points in 12 games. 12 points from 12 games all season. They're not as good and as fluid as they were last season. They're going through their own injury problems as well. Like, they're not on good form. Like, they've just got battered 4-0 to Luton away from home. In this calendar year, they've only beaten one side away from home, and that's Sheffield United. So, I mean, we should be winning a game like this.
And we did
100%.
win.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? If we continue to allow teams to come to our patch and dominate the way Brighton did, we're not going to get away with last-minute winners week in, week out. This is where the dominance of you know, the Cities, Liverpools, and dare I say it as well, Arsenal after a few of their performances. That's the level that we need to get to. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. You're all spot on. You know, we're a work in progress. We've had all the injuries. We've had the suspensions. We've had the AFCONs, the Asia Cups. So now it really is time to push on and you know, start trying to kill games off. And that's what I want to see against Wolves. I really want to see us put them to bed. You know, I would snap your hand off for a 2-goal lead by the 75th minute for sure.
And I think that's what Maddison said after the game. You know, he said he's dying for just a comfortable 3-0 home win and not all this late drama all the time. And I think obviously that's what we want to get to, but that takes time, and it's not always going to, especially with all the problems we've had. And I think anyone expecting us to be on the level of the top three, of the fact that we're only 5 points away from them, is incredible in my opinion. Like if we were sitting here, you know, 10 points away or 15 points away, I don't even think people would bat an eye, because like that's probably where we should be. But the fact that we're even close to them at this stage just shows what a good job Postecoglou is doing, because we were absolutely nowhere near them last season, nowhere near. We were miles away, and now that gap is significantly closed, which is amazing.
But here's the thing, Sim, right? The thing that's more important to me as a fan, it's not where we are, you know, in the league, if it's 4th, 5th or 3rd at the moment. You know, to me, the exact position doesn't really matter at this stage. To me, what I'm looking at is what Ange has actually done as he's come in here. The transformation of the club, the unity that he's brought within the fan. We were all divided a year ago. Levy in, Levy out, Enoch this, Enoch that. Everyone was all over the place. Everyone was arguing with everyone. And you know, he's just come in and like a magician with a wand, he's come in, he's done his magic. And it's not just the first team, right, guys? I want to reiterate this. The under-21s, the under-18, everyone is on fire. This club is going places. We are building to really take this club to the next level. We have everything
100%.
in place to take this club to the next level. We have all the facilities. We have the best stadium in the world. We have all these business deals going on. It's just about adding to the squad, giving Ange what he wants, and building on what we have, and taking it game by game. Really, lads. You know, we haven't got a crazy schedule now. There's no cup competitions. We can just focus on the league, get to the summer, build, and we see where we go next season. And, you know, the sky's the limit with Ange.
And also, just to touch on, in terms of people's complaints about, like, how we played maybe against Brighton and maybe our recent form, like, as much as I'm positive in general about the performance, maybe more positive than other people, I do realise obviously there were periods where we weren't doing the right things, and I think Ange knows that as well. I don't think Ange is coming out after the game and saying, "Oh, we deserved the win. It was a great performance." Like he said after, I don't know if you saw his interview. He was asked after the game, you know, now you have, you know, after a win like that, would it be better to just get back in the swing of things in a midweek game and build on that momentum? Or was it good that you have like a free week? And he said, after that performance, we're going to need a week. That's what he said. So clearly he's not happy with the performance. Clearly he wants better. But so I think Ange is aware that this team is, you know, still a work in progress, and we need more time and we need all of that. So as much as I'm positive about it, I still know that there are flaws definitely in that performance and we need to improve on it. But I think there are definitely more reasons to be positive about it than negative.
Oh,
why do you think that keeps happening though? Because like the last 2 home games now, our first halves have been just completely lackluster. You look at the Brentford game and now you look at the Brighton game. Like, why does this keep happening at home?
It's a difficult one to answer. Teams obviously come prepared for you, and they, you know, maybe teams are I wouldn't say working us out, but you know, they're going to be more aware of how we play. They're going to be we're definitely coming like a set way. Teams know how we're going to set up now, and they're getting more used to it. They're planning for it, and maybe it just takes some adjusting to during the game. I don't think it's just that. I mean, if you remember, like the beginning of the season in that game, in that 10-game run, like I remember Man United at home, like first half we were definitely second best, and we could have been behind in that first half. And we turned it around. It's all about how Ange sees things, how he makes little tweaks and changes to gain control of the game. So sometimes we can get it from the start, but recently it just hasn't been that way. But it's hard to put your finger on why exactly what has changed. We need to be starting games quicker. I think we're trying to. It's usually what happens, I find, is like we have like a very quick like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of the game. Then the opposition take control. and then
that happened at Brentford at Everton.
And
didn't
then,
really happen at Brighton though.
Yeah, it didn't really happen too much at Brighton, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on why exactly we're struggling at the moment in first halves, but it seems to be something that is definitely a bit of an issue. Ange does seem to be rectifying it at half time, which is positive, but obviously we can't be giving the opposition 45 minutes. Although, what I would say is against Brighton, for those last 15 minutes of the half, we were definitely on top. And
Yeah,
we could have equalised easily in those last 15 minutes.
All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about Rodrigo Bentancur now, because I've seen a lot of ridiculous comments from sections of the Spurs fan base saying, sell Bentancur this, Bentancur's crap now. I mean, he's come back from 2 serious injuries, and yes, his form has dropped off. But we'll start off with you, Ariane. Is it worrying, the form for Bentancur at the moment?
I mean, this is a guy who's clearly playing through an ankle injury. We were quoted 2.5+ months, right? And this guy came back in 3 weeks. I wasn't even happy to see him on the team sheet when he came back. So I was like, and for some reason, that's the one game he actually played incredibly in. But then after that, he's clearly been off the pace, and you can tell it's a lot like Richarlison and his groin injury. It's exactly like that. Look, this is a guy who's just not the same player as he was, because he's playing through pain, and you can tell this guy's reluctant. This is a reluctant Bentancur. That's what it is. He's always reluctant to go in for a challenge, and that's kind of where you can see his drop off, because this guy was going. He was a dual monster, and in the second half of this game, at the Brighton game, I think he actually played incredibly, because that was the one time again where it felt like he had a bit of confidence back. Yeah, I'm going to get this 50-50. I'm going to get this. But throughout the games, every time he goes into a duel, you can see there's a bit of doubt in the back of his mind, and that's because of his injury. He's playing through it. I think he needs rest. I have no doubt in his talent. I have no doubt in his ability. I have no doubt in the fact that he's going to come back. He's clearly hurt, and it's just that simple. There's no reason to make it anything other than that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I agree with you what you're saying in the second half as well, because he got taken off just as he was like growing into the game as well, didn't he? At the period of time he went off in the game. But Amir, what's your thoughts on Bentancur? Are you worried about the level of his performance at the moment, or just not really at all?
Look, we all know that he's not, at his prime at the moment. Coming back off those terrible, horrible injuries, Cash, I'll never forgive him. What a dirty player. But for me, the only real worry is, when are we going to see that Bentancur again that we had before the first injury? If you look back to that year, I think he was our best, not just best midfielder, but probably the best player in our team, to be honest with you. So all these fans that are talking about, getting rid or selling up, or, I don't know what they're talking about. He's going to be a key player for us going forward. And I think, the way Ange doesn't really see, but he doesn't really like to see those positions, 6, 8, he said to get out of that mindset. So we need as many high quality midfielders as possible to be battling for those positions. So when you see, when everyone's fit and you've got Maddison, Bissouma, Bentancur, Lo Celso, Sarr, you're really looking at a really, really strong midfield. So I'm hoping he'll get back to, his full fitness. It might maybe take him a couple more games. If it takes a little rest at Wolves, why not? Play Bissouma up. Give what we saw in the beginning of the season. Give Bissouma, Sarr, and Maddison the reins and let them go at it, and let Lolo get to, let him recover properly.
Yeah, I mean, there were worrying signs in that. The last couple of games, the Everton game at Goodison Park, I thought he was shocking. First half against Brighton, giving the ball away in the edge of the area. Really uncharacteristic mistakes from Rodrigo Bentancur in these games. And I would be worrying if we didn't have Yves Bissouma coming back now. With what Yves Bissouma showed in that second half when he came on, I thought he looked brilliant, to be honest. Not maybe on the offensive part of his game, but definitely the defensive part, the amount of interceptions he made after he came on. So I would be worrying about Bentancur, but now we got Bissouma back in the team. I think it gives the opportunity to Bentancur to really get back to full fitness.
Yeah, I completely agree. Go on, Amir.
No, I'm just saying, give him a break. That's it. Simple as that. If he needs the time, if you've brought a player back a little bit too early and he's not at full fitness, let him get to full fitness and then let him go at it. And like Ben said, you've got Bissouma there.
And you got to remember, like, he came, as you say, he came back early from his second injury. You got to remember, this guy's recovering from 2 injuries. And the fact that he looked so good coming back from the ACL against Villa was a credit to him rather than something that should be expected. No one should have expected him to look so good when he first came back. And he clearly worked very, very hard. People, you know, they said... when in that little documentary they did about him coming back from that injury, that he was doing extra training sessions like on top of what he had to do. So no, he didn't just want to come back from injury from that ACL. He wanted to come back in his best form. And I think we all can say in those first 25 minutes, he definitely did that against Villa. And what was really unfortunate is he picked up a second injury and now he's recovering from that. And now he's rushing back from that second injury. And I don't know whether he kind of did the things necessary to come back from that second injury in his best form like he did from the first one, because he was rushing back. We had lack of options. He felt that responsibility from the team. And to be fair to him, he was rushed back, but he did really help us at the beginning. You know, I thought against Burnley in the cup he played really well. He obviously scored against Man United in what was a really good performance.
Man, the match display.
So he like, yes, we rushed him back, but he obviously was contributing to the team. Now it's a case of he's definitely struggling a bit physically. I think we can see that. He's clearly half a second off it. There are times against Brighton where, you know, Bentancur of old would release the ball a lot quicker, would have been a lot stronger on the ball, wouldn't have lost the ball in certain situations. For the penalty, for example, you can see there was like there was a half a second opportunity where he could have like released the ball to Kulusevski very quickly. He just hang on to it for half a second too long, lost the ball, and obviously we ended up giving away a penalty. And those little seconds matter at such a high level of football, especially against a very good pressing team like Brighton. So when he's being rushed back from this second injury, this ankle injury, and he's clearly struggling with the kind of rhythm and stuff like that, it's understandable why we're seeing this level of performance. For me, I think he was poor in the first half against Brighton. There were still some good things there, which people won't acknowledge because of the, you know, when he gives the ball away in bad situations, that sticks in your mind. But there were some good things he did. And especially in the second half, I thought he was growing into the game a bit more and looking more confident before he got taken off. So I do think, give him a few weeks. I definitely think he should probably come out the team just for himself. I think maybe when he's coming on against tired legs, against when he can maybe start to dominate physically rather than against fresher players who are maybe up for the challenge a bit more, maybe that can help build his confidence back and he can start getting to those levels again. Ali Gold said recently in a video that the medical staff believe that we're probably not going to see the very best of Bentancur again till next season rather than this season, which, to be fair, is common practice for ACL injuries. We've seen it so many times with players when they come back from that injury, they're not the same player for quite a while before they have time to rebuild themselves. So it wouldn't be a massive surprise, which is even more of a surprise why he looked so good against Villa, because no one really expected that. So I'm not worried about his form. It's just obviously a shame when you know such a good player, how good he can be, and then you see him putting in these performances on the pitch where he's just not up to how good we know he can be. It's sad to see, to be honest, because we know how amazing he is, and that when he's in his top form, he can be one of the best centre mids in the Premier League when he's at his very, very best. So when he's losing the ball in certain situations, he's doing that. I can understand some people, some players, some fans looking at that and thinking, "Oh, he's off it." And let's be honest, in this day and age, fans are just impatient. They kind of have this belief, like if he's playing and he's being picked by the manager, he should be ready to play. He should be 100%. He should be completely fully fit. So if he's putting in his performances, it wouldn't be because of a fitness issue or anything else, because he's being picked to play. So he should be 100% fit and he should be ready to play if he's being picked. But we all know that there's other circumstances surrounding that. As obviously he was rushed back because we had a lack of options. So I understand that. I'm willing to be a bit more patient to see the best out of him, and I think we will do it. It's just not happening right now. So I'm not concerned about ever seeing the best of him. It's just a shame that right now we're not seeing the best of him.
Do you feel like that then obviously we have rushed him back, that he shouldn't have been starting all these games consecutively, and maybe we should have played a Skip or a Højbjerg consecutively in the number 6 just to ease him back in a bit?
Maybe. As I say, when he first came back in, I actually thought he looked quite good against Burnley and Man United. I thought he had 2 good games.
Too many games too soon.
Maybe. But that's the staff's decision. Maybe they feel like an 80% Bentancur is better than 100% Skip. I don't know. That's maybe the decision they took. But
I also think that.
Yeah, so maybe. I mean, maybe. I think Bentancur's obviously a better fit for what we try to do than a Højbjerg or a Skip. I think we all know that. Was it a mistake to maybe put him in? The fact that we took him off at half-time against Brentford and then we took him off after 55 minutes against Brighton would suggest that maybe it was a bit of a mistake to be starting him in this game when maybe he's not completely ready. He does keep persisting with it, but we haven't had that many options in terms of players who we can trust to play the way we want to. So maybe he feels like it's better to play him for an hour or 45 minutes than to play Højbjerg Skip. I don't know if I agree with that decision, but he's gone with it. I don't know. Maybe he's been really good in training and he looks like 100% fit and he looks ready to play, and then he comes to the game and he isn't quite on it. So it's hard to completely criticise, but definitely at the moment, for me in the next game, not for like a punitive reason because I think he's been like terrible. I just think he just needs to build his way back into the team, and Bissouma's now ready to play. We know he can play the system. We have Sarr there now playing in the 8 as well, who looks great since coming back. So I don't think there's any reason to kind of rush him back into the first 11. Maybe there were reasons before because Bissouma wasn't 100% fit. We didn't really like how Højbjerg and Skip were fitting in the team. So we feel like we needed Bentancur in there. I think now with Sarr back, Bissouma back, there's no real reason to kind of rush him back in just to have a player there who can play the system because we have players available. So I think get him on the bench for the Wolves game, bring him on with like 20 minutes to go against tired legs, and I think that'll be the best way forward.
100%. It's a great option to have, isn't it? To have two classy players like that for the 6 in Bissouma, Bentancur, maybe even bring Bentancur as a number 8 or something later on in games because, Pape Sarr, with the way he kind of exerts energy towards the game. To have someone like that on the bench that you're able to bring on is going to be absolutely insane. And Bissouma coming back, I don't know what you guys thought about Bissouma, but I just thought he was a breath of fresh air when he came on, and those interceptions that he was making in the middle of the park. He came on with a bit of an aura about him. I don't know what you thought, Ariane.
I thought he was excellent. I mean, he was exactly what we needed. I think that was kind of part of his game that maybe not that it was bad, but I think even before, like when he was in his outstanding form at the beginning of the season, like his defensive side to me looked a little bit lackluster, but I think he looked his defensive best against Brighton, his defensive best all in his first shirt ever. I think he was outstanding. Interceptions, like you said, 1v1. Yeah, I think his dribbling and his, kind of passing range was not quite where it was at the beginning, but I think, he more than made up for it in just how good he was. I think he brought the solidity that we really needed to end up, we ended up winning that game, and I think he had everything to do with it in the end. Obviously he was also there for the moments where we were a little bit poor, but I think if without him, it's a completely different game. We might have gotten suffocated out of the game, and I think he was part of the reason that we were able to get out of those periods where Brighton were dominant. He was outstanding. He was absolutely, and I think he bought himself that starting spot against Wolves.
Yeah, completely agree. Amir?
Yeah, fully. He came on, he did a job, he's a player that I really, 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 really want to see get back to his best, because if we think back to his first 10 games, how good he was, he was man of the match in maybe 60-70% of them, I'd say. He was fantastic. So if we can get him back to that level and he can cut out all the, I'd call it silliness, the diving and the red cards and stuff like that out of his game for the rest of the season, we're on to a huge winner in Yves Bissouma. I think his talents on the ball and the things that he can do, the way he can hold off players and just dribble out of 2 or 3 players, it's something that, none of the other midfielders can really do. So if we get him fit and firing, back to his best, I think he's going to be a huge asset for us running in. I just hope that, he does get his shot against Wolves because, like we were saying, Bentancur, give him a rest, let him recover, let him get back to his best, give Yves a shot, and let's see how we do. I really want to see that midfield of Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison, how it was.
Back to the OG midfield, yeah, Amir?
Yeah, I really want to see it. I think, the way they were linking up in those first 10 games, we were unbeaten, guys. Come on, it was fantastic. And just, Sim, you were saying earlier about you couldn't put your finger on, what we were lacking in those few games. We've got Sonny back. Son is back, guys. Our captain is back. So, you're looking at all that. Bissouma, Sonny back. come on, we're going to have a good run in, guys, for sure.
All right. Well, let's. That brings us on nicely to the next chapter of the panel. We're going to talk about our hopes for top four and how many wins do you guys think we need to secure that top four spot? And also, do you think that we are favourites for the top four now? We are a point above Aston Villa, 14 games left to play in the Premier League this season. Take it away, Ariane.
I've never taken Aston Villa seriously the entire season. I haven't taken them seriously whatsoever. They're going to fall.
Do you think United are more of a threat to us than Villa?
I bet my friend $100 that they're going to finish 7th or below. And that was before they lost Sheffield United. That's how far ago. I've never taken them seriously.
They're 10 points away from 7th.
Conte ball. I don't care. I'll bet. I'll double down. I'll double down if he asks me right now. I seriously and since I've made that bet, I think the second I made that bet was when the wheels fell off and they've had 1 win in 7, and it was against this terrible Sheffield United side. Besides that, they like I said, 1 win in 7. That's atrocious form. And one of the most important players just got an ACL injury. They're not serious whatsoever. Man United, I think, are lackluster. They're decent. They're not. None of the teams below us have a chance for top 4. I'm more than confident. I would bet anything you ask me that Spurs are going to finish top 4. I'm super confident. I think I'm more hopeful that we get 3rd. I'm not even worried. I'm not even sweating about top 4. Not even sweat. I'm kind of more looking at that 3rd place saying, can we sneak in there?
So how many more wins then to secure it?
3rd place, I think it kind of depends on Arsenal. And one thing that's interesting about Arsenal, Amir, you were saying, they, one thing they have is that killer instinct, and they bring them in 2-0 down and it's over. Arsenal, before the 90th minute, have been 2-0 up this season before the 90th minute 6 times, 2 or more up before the 90th minute 6 times. Spurs have been 2 or more up before the 90th minute also 6 times. And we've had way worse injuries, just way more problems. We have a new manager. We've spent about a fraction of the money. So in terms of, how good we are at putting teams to bed, Arsenal are scoring last-minute winners against Luton Town.
Oh, they are.
So
they are. Ariane, and I hear that. Honestly, you've got to look at the mitigating factors, right? And I see that. But the way we were putting Burnley to bed earlier on in the season, that's what I want to see now. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? When we're losing a goal at Goodison Park and we're getting a last-minute winner, that's all. It's part of the puzzle. But I want to see us. That's why I'm really looking forward to Wolves and Palace at home. I think it's 2 games where we can get back to that and we can do that and we can put these teams to bed. So, I'm really hoping that we do get
absolutely. And I wasn't trying to say that to knock on you. I was trying to say that to say, look, Arsenal are 5 points above us. A lot of that has to do with one spell where we lost like 3 or 4 key players. We didn't win in 5 games.
True.
If that didn't happen, I am more than. If that didn't happen, I think we'd still be in 1st place, let alone 3rd and 2nd. But we're 5 points below Arsenal. I think we've got more than a shot. I think we're a better team than them, especially when we're on it than they are. They don't impress me this season at all. I'm much more looking at that 3rd place spot than I am at 4th, because I think 4th is more than in the bag. I don't think any of the teams below us have, even the faintest hope. The closest team is Aston Villa, which I think says pretty much everything that needs to be said about how not close this race is, because Aston Villa have been shambolic in the past 7 games, and yet they are here only 1 point below it. Man United have been shit all of the rest of the season, and now they found a little bit of form. Newcastle are kind of getting a little bit more lively again, but I think it's too little, too late for 4th. They can all battle out for Europa League as far for all I care. But I think the Champions League teams, they're decided already by February 13th. And I think it's just a bit of a, who's going to win the title, who's going to be 3rd. And I think, I honestly, I would say Spurs are going to finish 3rd.
But I don't even know how many games are left. It's 14. I would agree with you, Ariane, in terms of that we have been playing better than Arsenal for the majority of this season. But I just feel like that period from Chelsea till whenever we started winning games again just might have just done it in terms of us finishing above Arsenal, because I look at them with them being 5 points ahead of us. And looking at their fixtures as well, I just don't know where we make those 5 points up, because they're starting to come into form again now. And, you know, they're winning 6-0. They're beating Liverpool. They're turning out some really good results at the moment, Arsenal.
They got to come to the lane, though.
They do have to come to the lane in the latter stage of the season. But look at their next 5 games, for example. Burnley away, Newcastle at home, Sheffield United away, Brentford at home, and Chelsea at home. That looks like 5 wins to me.
Nah, come off it, man.
It does.
Nah,
I'm telling you. Who are they dropping points to in that run?
All of them.
They're dropping points.
All of them. Who?
But I think if you look at, I also think they drop points to a 10-man Fulham. They almost drop points to Nottingham Forest. I'm gonna go from the beginning of the season. There's a lot of games where they've skimmed through the points that they've gotten, and they're in a run of form. And I understand why you're saying that. But we've had an injury crisis. They haven't. They've spent a lot more money, and the games that they're winning, they are winning against an under pressure Moyes. They're winning against a very much how is he not sacked Roy Hodgson, a Liverpool that Klopp has just announced he's going to leave. We all knew that was going to just show up, have a very low energy Liverpool, and because
come on, man.
I think that's the opposite.
Brilliant.
I think that's why would that mean it's low energy? Because he's leaving.
I don't think so. I don't think because look, some people can think it's this, some people think it's that. For me, I thought it's the weirdest decision for a coach to say, "Hey, I'm going to leave at the end of the season," because some people are saying, "Oh, now you're going to fight for him, you're going to die for him because this is the last time you're going to see him." The way Klopp coaches, the way he operates, he has to be a coach that is you'd run through a brick wall for. Me personally, I am not running through a tinfoil wall for a coach that's going to leave in 6 months. Me personally, because
but he's a club legend. He's a legend.
It's like Pochettino. Oh, I don't care. But why? But the way the players have to put their bodies on the line, the amount of trust you have to have in a coach like that, and also what it means for their future and everything. I think that Liverpool side is going to suffer, and we're going to see it not only through this result, we're going to see it in all of their other results. And I'm going to be proven right in the next few weeks and months. You'll see Liverpool going to drop off massively. They're not winning this title. They might be the ones to drop all the way to 4th if we end up finishing 3rd. I think that's how bad it could be. That is the fall off they're going to experience. I think maybe they might go decently far in some cups, but I don't think they're gonna. It's gonna make them suffer in the league. I think it's gonna make them suffer in the league big time. Because in a cup, I can understand why that energy would be used for. Look, it's the coach's last cup. We gotta go in. We gotta win this cup for him. Champions League, care about whatever the hell they're still in. I don't keep track of Liverpool, but they're not even in the Champions League. They're in the Europa League. I
completely disagree.
I think Liverpool are weak. I think the points that they have gotten in the past games are weak, and some of the points they've dropped are to some pretty mediocre teams. They almost dropped points to Luton Town, by the way, where they conceded 3 goals. They haven't been putting any of these teams to bed. Wolves, they only won by 1. Villa, they lost. Brighton are one of the only teams they've won. They lost to West Ham a couple weeks ago, right? Not a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. But they've dropped points on very bad sides. I'm not saying they're going to drop points to Burnley and Sheffield United because those are some of the worst teams in the league. But Newcastle, they could drop points to. Brentford, they could easily drop points to. Chelsea, they could easily drop points to. Right after that, they've got Man City, they could easily drop points to. Brighton, away, they've got that they could drop points to. And then only a couple of games after that, they have the lane. And they have some tough games coming out of them. And, as do we, and we have some easy ones as well. Let's look at our own fixtures. We have Wolves, and then I actually don't know what comes right after. But if you can't look at one team's fixtures. We have
Wolves and Palace,
and then we have Chelsea, but then we have Palace, we have Villa, we have Wolves, and then Wolves, Palace, then Villa. I think are shit, like I've said. Then Fulham, then Luton, then West Ham, then Forest. Those are also pretty easy teams. The only difficult one. Oh wait, no, Chelsea got postponed. I forgot about that. So there you go. We have like 5 that I think we're gonna win all 5 of those too. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we can 6, 7 in a row. 7. I think we have wins in a row. I don't think Arsenal have 7 wins in a row. I don't think. Have 4.
I think we win our next 2 games. I don't think we win at Villa Park. I really don't.
That's the key one for me, Ben. That's the key match.
Yeah, it is a key match in terms of the top 4 race, but I don't think we win there. You got to remember, our away form is not good at the moment, Ariane.
Yeah, Ariane, I'm
That's
loving the
honestly-
confidence, Ariane. I'd love to take 7 from 7, mate. But some of these away days, you know what I mean? You're on the road. You go up to places like Goodison Park, Villa Park. They're very tricky destinations to go. I mean, with Sonny back though, and with the players that we have back, you know, we're going to put up a mighty fight. That's for sure. But
we were unbeaten in 10.
West Ham
and the
ain't even
only
a
reason
given
we-
to win, Ariane. West Ham, you know how they turn up against Spurs every single year. You know what I mean? Like, they could be bottom of the league, losing 10-0 every week, and they'll turn into prime Barcelona when we play them.
that Lanzini goal is still in my bloody brain. Oh, stop it.
I agree about Ariane about Villa, though. I don't know about finishing 7th because I just think they've built so much of a lead. I don't see Newcastle, West Ham, maybe Brighton, but they're in Europa League as well. I don't see other teams just being that consistent to overtake them. So I do think they'll probably still finish in the top 6. But I think I do see shades of I think for Villa, when it's going well, it's like I think it's very similar to us under Conte. When it's going well, it's good. But once things start to turn, once there's a drop off, I think you might start to get a lot of frustrated Villa fans, in my opinion, because you look at the football they play. It's really great when it's working, very intense, so aggressive. They overwhelm the opposition. But then when their intensity drops off a bit, when all of a sudden when they come up against a team who, very solid defensively, who make it hard for them to break down, they run out of ideas very, very quickly. They have a very, very much a lack of creativity. They're relying on. They only play 2 attacking players pretty much every game, Watkins and Bailey. Imagine turning up and watching that and being excited about it. It's really great when you've got McGinn pressing and you've got Louise and Kamara just overwhelming with the press and when you're hounding the opposition. But once you come up against a team that can deal with that, all of a sudden it looks actually stale. It looks very stale very, very quickly. And Kamara's obviously out. He's a big player for them. Obviously, when they're playing people like Longley as well, all of a sudden there are gaps in that back four which can definitely be targeted. And I think their home form was really great for the first, half of the season. But since they beat Arsenal at home, I think they've won 1 game in 5.
They've won 1 game this calendar year.
They've won 1 game, and even the game they did win, it was Burnley at home when they got extremely lucky. They got a last-minute penalty, which wasn't a penalty. No, I'm saying the home games. Home games. They beat Burnley at home and their last home win, which was extremely lucky, which they shouldn't have won that game. They've just lost 3-1 at home to Newcastle. They got absolutely battered by Chelsea at home as well recently. And at least with Tottenham, right, if we have players who are out, for example, if Johnson's out of form, you bring in Kulusevski, you can change things up a bit. You got Werner or Son now, Richarlison. If Richarlison drops out of form, we can put Son back up front. We have options. For Villa, it's like, they have Leon Bailey. If he's out of form, they don't really have. They have like Diaby. That's it. If they have to rely on Watkins, but they don't have many options. They're very much reliant on a very few players staying in form. They've still got European football as well, and I think Unai Emery is known for this. By the way, it's happened in every single club he's been at. He focuses on the cups for every team, and it happened at Villarreal. It happened at Sevilla. He has a very strong start to the league season, but once the cups start kicking in late in the season, there's always a massive drop off. It happened at Arsenal as well. They were very close to top 4, but he prioritised the Europa League, and they had a massive drop off in the league and ended up dropping out the top 4.
Battered in the final.
I think Unai Emery, this is a very much a trend with him, where they have a massive drop off in the league late in the season. They end up falling away a bit, and they rely on the cups. And to be fair to them, they do end up usually winning the cups. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning the Conference League. But I think it will be the detriment to their league form, and I think we're going to end up finishing quite a way away from them.
I agree. I completely agree with that. We are finishing above Villa comfortably this season. I don't disagree. I was talking about the Spurs against Arsenal, and it's going to be very difficult to finish above them. But when I'm looking at that Villa Park game, it's still going to be incredibly difficult. And
of course it will.
And it's going to be our most difficult game over the next 6 or 7 games.
I'm not saying we're guaranteed to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do win that game. I believe it could be sandwiched, I believe, in between 2 Conference League games is when we play. I'm not 100% sure on that. I did hear that somewhere. It's sandwiched in between 2 Conference League games, which I don't think they're going to rest players for that. Even if they do, they don't have that many players to rest. So they have quite a small squad. So, and look at their home form recently. They're nowhere near the home team they were at the beginning of the season. So I'm sure they're going to bring their A game. I saw them against Man United. They definitely should have won that game, but they came up second best. But if those things keep happening, their belief is going to start to wane a bit, which I think that is the main thing which was getting them through. I think they won like 14 wins at home in a row. They were unbelievable, but it's because they're full of belief. But once they started losing a few results, they drew at home to Sheffield United, they lost at home to Newcastle, they lost at home to Man United now, they got battered by Chelsea. So I think that belief is starting to drop away. And at least with Spurs, we have this way of playing of this attacking football where even against Brighton, you saw when we're second best, we can still put a move together and get that goal. I don't know if Villa have that in them because their football relies so much on intensity and aggression. It's not reliant on patterns like intricate football like Spurs is. So I think I do see shades of Conte that Ariane was saying. I think when it's good, it's brilliant. But when things start to go against you, it's hard to pull that back together.
So do you think Man United are more of a threat than Aston Villa?
Do I think Man United? I'm not convinced by them either. I think they're just as bad, to be honest. Because even in their, as Ariane was saying, they're building up a bit of momentum. But even in those games, they gave up a 3-1 lead to Wolves, where they were looking good in the lead, and they gave that up. Against Villa, they won, but they were very much second best in that game. They were very, very lucky to win. Villa, missed a host of chances. So even in this good period for United, I'm still seeing a lot of inconsistency. I don't believe they're going to have the consistency to last a distance. But are they more of a threat than Villa? Well, considering they got one game a week, and they're putting a bit of a team together, I probably would say I think Villa and United are going to foul out for 5th place, to be honest. I think we're going to be well clear of both of them, but I wouldn't be surprised. I reckon United will end up finishing above Villa. I actually think that, yeah.
I don't really think that. I think what Ariane says, the top 4 that you see now is going to be the top 4 come the end of the season. I can't see anyone else breaking into that top 4 spot. Just looking further up the table, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to get further. I think 4th is where we're going to end up come the end of the season. And if you look back onto that Villa Park game, if we win the 2 games before it and the 2 games after it, I think a draw is a good result at Villa Park. I don't know what you're thinking, Ariane.
I think I was going to make a bet with you. I was going to say if we don't win by a minimum of 2 goals, I could even say 3 goals.
You're a betting man, Ariane.
3 goals.
I can wager whatever you would like on that one. But
what's the bet? Sorry, say again.
I can wager. You can pick the lead, 2 or 3 goals, and then you can wager whatever amount you want on it. If
at Villa Park?
2 or 3 goals
At Villa Park.
We'll say 3. At Villa Park. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're gonna.
You think we're gonna win by 3 goals at Villa Park?
The home game that we lost 2-1 before the game, I said 4-1. And if you look at that game, of course we did not win, but given the chances we missed, we could have easily won 6-1, let alone 4.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, the chances we missed.
But we're a different animal at home than we are away from home.
And this is an inferior Villa side. I think, honestly, the reason for that has been because Maddison has been injured. And when Maddison was fit, at his best, I think we all remember, it was kind of funny. He was way better away. Spurs were better away from home. Spurs were much better away from home in the first 10 games, if you remember properly. And that's the squad we're getting back. I think we're going to play better. This is a worse Villa side that we're going to be playing against a better Spurs side that they were playing. So it's going to be an even better performance than one where we deserve to win 4, 5, 6-1. And I think we're going to win by a minimum of 3 goals. I genuinely believe that. And I wanted to ask you a question. Look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Wolves, Crystal Palace, Villa, Fulham, Luton, West Ham, Forest. How many wins?
What's the last game that you're going to? The Forest game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll go a minimum of 5, a maximum of 6.
A maximum of 6. I'd say a minimum of 6, a maximum of 7. And that's if we draw one by some dodgy penalty or something.
You really think we're going to go 7 games in a row now winning?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd absolutely bite your hand off for it, obviously, but I don't know. I just can't see it. Right now.
Here's a question. Obviously we have this run in April, right? Newcastle away, City at home, Arsenal at home, and then Liverpool away. when it comes to April. That's in, and then also probably Chelsea away going to be sandwiched in there as well. That's in how many games time? Is that what you're going to until the run in April? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's in 7 games time, right? That run.
Yeah. There you go.
How close do we have to be to like Arsenal to still be in with a chance of finishing above them come that run, do you think? Or do you think going into that run we can still pick up points going into that really difficult run?
Well, I think that's going to be the run that's going to decide a lot of things, and it's not going to just be third. I think the entirety of the structure of that top 4 from 4th to the title is entirely contingent on those games. Entirely. For Arsenal, for City, for Liverpool, all of their results are also contingent on that run of games. So for Spurs, that's the difference between finishing 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and dare I say first. That is the difference. That run of games. That run of games is the difference.
So do you not believe we have to be above Arsenal by that point to have a realistic chance of finishing above them?
Above them, I think if we're maybe right below them or something, because we play them in that run. So I think again that could be one where it's like kind of like the Conte season where we ended up finishing 4th.
So we need to be within. You would say we have to be within 1 or 2 points of them. You would say by that run to have a realistic chance.
Within 3, call it 3. Yeah.
Ariane, how many points are we getting off Newcastle away, Man City at home, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away?
That's another 4 wins, baby.
So we're winning every game from now until the end of the season, right?
We're winning everything. We're winning the league.
May as well come out and say it. That's it, Ariane. We're winning the league, yeah?
You're not going to... Look, I'm not going to be the one to say we're not going to win the league. I'm not going to be the one to say that either. 7 points away.
Look. If we do an Ariane, I'm gonna call it doing an Ariane now. If we do 7 from 7 in the next, what is it, month and a half coming up?
Yeah.
Then I think we'll obviously be talking about any position within that top 4. We could.
What I'm saying.
But here's the thing, Ariane. Here's the thing. Have Spurs shown me enough to have that belief? Not quite yet. Like when Ben said 5 from 7, that's where I'm at, to be honest. That's where, 5 from 7 and maybe, if we can sneak a win at Villa Park, obviously lovely. But
sneak a win at Villa Park.
We can definitely win at Villa Park, Ariane. We can definitely win at Villa Park. But I'm saying all those 7 games, if we were to come out, even 6 from 7, I think that would be amazing. And I do think that we should be looking up and not looking down. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. We should be looking at Arsenal. We shouldn't be worrying about Villa. We shouldn't be thinking about United. They're just not relevant for what we're trying to do at the moment. So yeah, we just take it game by game, focus. I do think there's so many positives there to take. With the players that we got back. Sonny in that team, I mean, guys, we saw what an impact he made. As soon as he came on, it just looks like a different team. That left is just, every time that guy gets on the ball, you're just thinking something's going to happen here. It's going to pull off some magic. So, we've got 14 games left. Let's get that magic going. Let's see where we are after these next 7. And I hope I'm sat here saying we've done an Ariane, because that would be
so quick prediction. I'm here. Out of 14 games, how many wins are we getting?
Out of 14,
yeah,
9
wins. That'll be enough that'll be well enough for top 4. That'll put us on like 75 points.
So hang on, you're saying we're gonna get 5 out of 7. And then during the Newcastle, Arsenal, all that run, we're going to get another
2 wins. 2 wins. No, because we've got Burnley and Sheffield United last 2 games.
Yeah, possible.
Okay, so you're saying
last 2. So that's 2 wins there. That's 2 wins. Burnley, Sheffield United.
Cool.
I mean, anything above that 9 is unbelievable for me, to be honest with you. If we go into the realms of 10, 11 wins, 12 wins, that's going to be even pushing on for that.
So nine wins is 74 points. That'll be our best points total probably since 17, 18, I would say.
I think Ariane probably thinks we're going to get 15 wins out of our next 14 games.
I was about to exactly stole my punches, stole my thunder, man.
Put your money on that bet. Put your money on that.
So what are you thinking, Ariane? How many wins are we getting out of the last 14?
15.
16. I'll go with 10. 10 or
10.
10. 10. I'll stick with 10. I'll be
10,
conservative. I'll hold
70,
it down.
77 points. Will that be enough for third? I don't know. That's 77 points. That means Arsenal would need to get 25, another 25 points, which is how many wins is that? Divided by that's the Arsenal need to win in another 8 games to get that total. What are you saying? How many wins? 8 out of 14.
8.
So we're dropping in 6 games. We'll drop
6 games. You've got draws in there as well. We've been notoriously big at drawing away from home this season. So I think 8.
Look, in the next 7 games, when I said we're gonna get 7 out of 7, is that so unrealistic? We're getting the starting 11 back. The starting 11 that won 10 did not lose for 10 games, and one of the we went 8-2 out of 10, and one of those was away at the Emirates. And I'm saying that squad is not gonna drop points to Wolves, Palace, Villa, Fulham, Luton, West Ham, and Forest. I do not think that's crazy to say.
Where do we drop points then from now to the end of the season?
I think the only game that I'm going into thinking, fuck, is Liverpool at Anfield. Because that is just, it's a cursed ground. But outside of that, I think, obviously I'm not going to say, Man City at home, right? But Man City at home, it's at home. It's a big game. We always love that game. Same thing with Arsenal. I think Spurs, as this is kind of the litmus test for really me when I was like, Conte has to go. If you lose to Arsenal at home, that is when you can't. Spurs can't lose to Arsenal at home. They can't. It should not be allowed. It should not be allowed. That's what I'm saying. And it's one of those things where no how, why, when, what, whatever. Spurs against Arsenal at home has to be a win. It has to be a win. At the minimum, a very well thought out draw. Even when we were shit, and I wasn't old enough to understand football, and I just know this through history. Even when we were shit in the 90s and whatever, we still showed up to Arsenal. And I think right now, when we're incredible, we're going to show up to Arsenal and we're going to school them. So I'm not going to go into that game. I don't think as fans, it shouldn't be allowed as fans to go into a game like that as being pessimistic. As a fan, you should not be pessimistic.
Agreed.
To Arsenal,
we're beating Arsenal.
I think how I see it is we got
Absolutely.
7 home games left. 2 of those home games are Man City and Arsenal. I reckon we win 6 out of our 7 home games. We probably drop points in one of those games, I'm going to say. Where I reckon, so that's 6 wins. I reckon in the away games, we have Fulham away, when we have Sheffield United away. I think that's 2 wins there. So that's got that up to 8. And then of the remaining away games, that's Liverpool away, Newcastle away, West Ham away, Villa away, and Newcastle away. Now, and Chelsea away as well. Out of those 6 home games.
Account Chelsea.
So that's Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Out of those 5 away games, how many wins are we actually going to get? It's going to be tough. So I don't know if there's going to be more than 2 in those away games. So I'm going to say that's been quite positive. I think 2 wins out of those away games. Those are really difficult away games.
We're notoriously bad at all those.
So
games.
that takes it to 10 wins though. If we get 2 out of those 5, so I'm going to go, and that's being positive. And we're winning at St James's, winning at Liverpool, winning at West Ham, winning at Chelsea, and winning at Villa. Any of those would be big wins. So I'm going to go for 2 out of 5. Anyway, I'm going to go 2 out of 5. So out of those away games, so I'm going for 10 wins. That puts us on 77.
Yeah, I didn't take into account Chelsea. We're winning at Stamford Bridge this year.
You reckon we're winning at Stamford
We're
Bridge?
winning at Stamford Bridge this year, 100%.
I was about to say exactly that thing. I was about to say, Sin, you've convinced me to 11.
11.
So I said 8. I'm going to go to 9 because I didn't take into account the Chelsea game. So I'm saying 9 wins. But I think how many points is to guarantee us top 4? I think it's much less than that.
Eight wins.
You think it's 8?
8 wins gets us to 72. That's definitely top 4.
Yeah, I think it might even be less than that to guarantee us top 4.
That, honestly, yeah.
I'm saying 72 is like guaranteed.
Yeah, but I'm saying with the way Villa and Man United are going to be from now to the end of the season, I think it could be less.
I don't see either of them hitting 70.
That's what I'm saying. So it could be less than that.
Yeah, probably 67 maybe, which is like 7 wins. Maybe 8.
If we win
6
all
wins.
our home games from now to the end of the season, bar the Man City game, I think that's top 4 done.
That's 6 wins, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's top 4 done, regardless of what happens in the away games. But let's finish off talking about the summer transfer window. It's obviously there for all to see that we need a winger coming in from now to the end of the season. I'm going to start with Amir on this one because I know exactly what he's going to say. But what winger do you want to see us bring in the summer?
Well, you know exactly what I'm gonna say, but it's quite a tricky name. I don't even know if I can, but I'll give it a shot. So I want your man from Napoli, Kvaratskhelia. I think that's how you say his name. The Georgian Messi. For me, he's our man. He's gonna cost a ton of money, but Mr. Levy, just get your wallet out because this guy's worth it. You know, he's young. He fits the bill. He's strong. He's fantastic on the ball. He can beat a man. Players haven't got a clue which way he's going, left or right, and he's got a finish on him.
Do you think that's realistic? Is it realistic to bring in a Kavisha in the summer? Seeing as Napoli aren't even doing well this season, is he going to look to leave in the summer?
Why not? Why limit ourselves? You know, any wingers that we're looking at, you know, I think we should be looking at the top draw. At the end of the day, you know, you want players to come in and you want them to fight for their place in the 11. So there's no point, you know, with all due respect to Timo Werner, there's no point in signing someone like Werner permanently. You want to bring in someone young, a replacement that for you know, Sonny over the years, someone that's going to come in and you know, really even battle Sonny for that place. You know, that's what you want. That's what Liverpool have. That's what City have. And that's what will push us further in the long run. So that's the guy I want. That's my man. There's a few other, you know, niggling subjects that are you know, all over the place, good players that I'm looking at, but he's the one that really excites me, and I think, you know, he could suit this Ange team because he's got a good ball on him as well. He knows how to place the ball. He needs to slot into that front three perfectly.
Ariane, who would you like to see?
For me, it would be clearly Neto, but I'm, especially with the amount of hamstring injuries we have, that just worries me too much. So because solely off of that, my pick is Nico Williams. I think that kid is, I think Kvaratskhelia is a very good shout in terms of, I think he's definitely, at the moment, he's a better player. I don't think anyone's going to, I think he's a better finish. He's definitely stronger. He's more polished. But for me, Williams is much more dynamic. I think he's a better creator. And I think the parts of his game that probably aren't quite there, which is his just his decision making quite at the very in the box, pretty much just the final shot. Really, I don't even think his passing is all that out. I think he's an excellent creator. He's a lot of, when Brennan Johnson plays well and he's in the position and he's giving that pass and he's giving the final ball, that's what he does best. The best of Brennan Johnson is, I think, what Nico Williams is like. It does consistently for Athletic Club when I watch him play. He's dynamic. He's a lot dribblier than anybody we have. Get one-on-one, no idea where he's going. Bam, left, right, boom, and he cuts it inside, cuts it back for his brother most of the time, who's going to slot at him. And I think he is outstanding. And in a Spurs shirt, Ange's going to get exactly the best out of him. 1v1, pacey. He's exactly what we want down the wings. Imagine him and Johnson both knowing exactly what to do, cutting it back. It's going to be total mayhem on the wings for any fullbacks. And then you have Son or Richarlison ready to just slot it home. Oh, my God. Him, I think he'd be outstanding. But
how old is he, Ariane?
I think he'd be
21.
Oh, he's only 21. Wow. Wow, yeah, he'd be a very good shout as well, to be
I
fair.
think Nico Williams has got all the attributes. He's yet to explode, really, in an Athletic Bilbao shirt. He's not pulling up crazy numbers as of yet. I think this season is, 6 assists and 3 goals or something. Does that concern you at all, or is he just waiting to explode?
I think he's waiting. I think this is where he's gonna explode. I think we have the pyrotechnic. That's what I'm saying, right? We have Ange Postecoglou. He's gonna be the one to light the fuse. 21-year-old doing in La Liga, doing outstanding. Just when you watch him play, and he's 1v1, you yourself have absolutely no clue what's gonna happen. When I watch Kulusevski, the defenders clearly have no idea what's gonna happen, but I know what he's gonna do. I always know what Kulusevski's gonna do, and I love Kulusevski, right? I know what I have no clue what the hell Nico Williams has in his back pocket ever. I've never watched him think he's gonna do this. I'm like, he's gonna cut inside, and he does a step over, drops his shoulder. I'm like, he's the cut inside, and then boom, he tricks me while I'm watching. No other winger does that for me. I think he is exactly what we need, where he's just gonna do that one thing that nobody expects, and he's gonna create that little half space and cut it back, and boom, there's another last-minute winner.
Sim?
I think, Nico Williams would be my pick, just because I think age-wise, I think he can play on both wings as well. I think dribbling-wise, I think exactly what we need. We need someone who's able to beat a man consistently. But if he's unattainable for whatever reason, there's rumours that Arsenal and Chelsea are going to be involved in a bidding war, so there's a chance maybe we can't
He's
get
got a
him.
release clause.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is with him. If we can't get him, I think the next two down the list would be obviously Pedro Neto, who I absolutely adore. I think he's in terms of perfect for our system, Premier League ready, the kind of profile he is. I think he is so perfect. I think there's very few players in world football who are just as comfortable very few wingers who are just as comfortable on both wings like Pedro Neto is. He can be equally comfortable on the left or the right. In a way, if he can stay fit, you don't need to sign 2 wingers because he can just play on both sides. He's that good. And then obviously we got other players in those positions. So I absolutely love Pedro Neto. Obviously there is the caveat. He has had injuries. There is an issue that seems to be plaguing him. He had some serious injuries as well. But if he can pass a medical, I think he'll probably be number one in terms of who I want. I think I'll probably prefer him to Nico Williams in terms of a player, just because his injuries give that caveat. And then the next one on my list would be Michael Olise from Palace. Again, you have another problem. He also has hamstring problem injuries. He has picked up a few injuries. But if he's a player who he's still very young, I think 21 years of age. I think he's actually got more quality than Pedro Neto with his left foot. The problem with comparing him to Neto is I think Neto's more of a both-way winger, whereas Olise is more of a winger who just likes to cut inside on his left foot. But he's that effective on his left foot. It might be worth having. I do think he's got a bit more quality on that left peg as well. I think he's got a great shot on him. He's got maybe a bit of a better cross on him as well. I absolutely adore Michael Olise as well. I do think he's attainable. Will he be more expensive than Neto? I'm not 100% sure, but I think I love Michael Olise so much. I think he'd be an amazing addition. I don't think he can go both ways like Neto does. I don't think you can put Olise on the left and him being an effective winger like Neto. So that's why I kind of prefer Neto to him. But I do think Olise's got a bit more quality. So I think he'd be next on my list. But I think Neto is kind of a dream. If we can keep him fit, I think he is just incredible. I think he's just so perfect. I really do.
If injuries weren't an issue, he had to be everyone's number one choice because he is just perfect what we want to do. Absolutely perfect. But the injuries are a massive concern, as they are with Michael Olise as well, especially as it's hamstrings. And we all know what happens with Ange Postecoglou's systems and hamstrings. It just seems to be a recurring problem, even at Celtic. So with the money that Olise is going to cost, I think it's also a massive concern. But Pedro Neto, I do believe that, as much as I've said consistently his injury problems are a massive concern, if he can stay fit from now to the end of the season, I would do it. I really would, for 60, 70 million odd. But I would like to throw in another couple of names in there that haven't been mentioned. I mean, Bakayoko of PSV. I think he's absolutely insane with his one-on-one dribbling out on the right wing. I watched him play in a couple of Champions League games this season as well. I think he's been brilliant. And in the Eredivisie as well, he's getting high number of assists. And also in the Championship, you got to look at Plymouth's Morgan Whittaker with the amount of goal contributions that he's been pulling in this season is absolutely insane. I think 14 goals and 7 assists at 23 years of age, and he's their captain. I think we should be looking at someone like him as well. So I would take any of the guys that have been mentioned so far in this video. I think that they would all be really good, astute signings for us.
Other names potentially are like maybe teams who are more attainable, because obviously we haven't like mentioned a couple people like Rafinha, who's obviously been linked and stuff. But I don't know about Rafinha. I'm not 100% sold on him as much as I think he's a great player.
But would you have said that after his Leeds
I really wanted him at Leeds, but it's not quite worked at Barcelona for one reason or another. I think he could work at Tottenham. It would be a good signing. But one of the name I think would be perfect for Spurs, but he might be very expensive, is Mitoma. I think Mitoma, I know he's a bit older, 26, maybe not, doesn't have that young dynamic age that we're looking for in terms of resale value, but in terms of a profile of player, I love Mitoma. I think he'd be a great signing. He'd be perfect, but Brighton always come on big fees, so I don't like, if you're going to spend 60, 70 million on a player, do you want a younger player rather than someone who's 26? I reckon that's where the club's looking.
How long's he got in his contract, Mitoma? Because we did do the dirty with them on Bissouma. We got Bissouma for like 25 million off them.
He's 2027.
Okay.
So he's got a long time on his contract. So if we do get Champions League football, and with the FFP issues when we do get Champions League, and with the FFP issues surrounding a lot of the top clubs, is there any chance we put our balls on the table and go big on for someone like Rafael Leao?
I mean, we should. We really should. It's like the same what Amir was saying with Kavisha, you know. If we get Champions League football, there is no reason why we shouldn't just put our balls on the table, go heavy on a winger. There is no reason why we shouldn't. If you're looking at the positions that we desperately need and the last jigsaws to the puzzle, pieces to the puzzle, you know, why not go massive on a winger when you're looking at the striker department for next season, have Alejo, Veliz and Richarlison in that position. Centre-back positions seem to be sorted as well, potentially with Ashley Phillips coming in, potentially bringing in one more. There's just a few little niggling positions like a competition for Destiny Udogie at left back, maybe one more midfielder in there when Højbjerg goes. But the big signing has to come in on the winger position, and why not go spend 70 to 100 million on a player like Leao and Kavisha? I don't see a reason why not.
Yeah,
Levy will find a reason. Sorry, Sid. Yeah,
no, I agree.
We did spend 60 on Richarlison. We spent 50 on Brennan Johnson.
Good point.
That's exactly it, though. It's what I've been calling out for so long. For me, this is. Then no one can come and have, you know, any discussions. Oh, we don't put the money down. Oh, there's a reason that we're not succeeding. Give Ange exactly what he needs to succeed next season and build off what we're building this season. It's a rare opportunity that we have with the FFP thing and, you know, that whole advantage that we've gained in that realm of football now that is there. So why not take advantage and use it? And if it is only an extra 20 million or 15 million, put it on. Instead of going for somebody that is not ready yet. Bring in the players with experience. They already have played in Champions Leagues. They know what big games are. They're ready-made.
In terms of like someone like a Leao, apparently he does want to move to the Premier League. It's well documented, and like in terms of Premier League clubs, like in being in accordance with FFP and stuff. Obviously, you got the top sides. I mean, are Liverpool going to spend that amount of money to get him? Arsenal have someone like Martinelli there. City just signed Doku, and they got Grealish on the left hand side. Obviously, there's Chelsea who could always put the money up, but if he's looking for Champions League football, I mean, could Tottenham be a viable destination for someone 100%.
Like him? I don't see. There's no reason why not. The only reason why not is because we more than likely will probably go for a more up and coming player that costs half the price than someone like a Rafael Leao. But I want to see us go big, and there is no reason with where the squad is at right now, the work that Big Ange is doing, the threshold we have with FFP, the money that also we've been spending recently. Why not just go big on that winger? There is no reason, in my opinion.
You look at the summer, right? You look at the summer. We, like you said, we spent 50 on Brennan Johnson, and we brought in Mickey Van de Ven. We brought in, we've had outstanding recruitment from the summer. Now, January was the first. The reason I was so happy about January, it was the first season. Screw the amount of money we spent because it wasn't much. It was a loan and 20 million. but it was the first time I have ever in my lifetime seen Spurs be proactive instead of reactive in the transfer window. Proactive. We got Dragusin and we got Werner in early, and that was massive for us. We weren't able to get some of the outgoings, but it wasn't really our fault. We weren't able to get Højbjerg. We weren't able, and that was kind of contingent, because it wasn't even like a money thing. Look, why would we sign a midfielder if we have Højbjerg? That would just be stupid squad management. So outside of those things that really were out of our control, I thought we did outstanding in terms of our proactivity in the window. And we have been spending the money, because 20 million on a center back in January, we haven't even done that. We haven't even, for where our bar is, and admittedly it's a low bar, we haven't even hit that in recent times in the January window. It's been a bunch of loans, and it's been, outside of like that one where we got Bentancur and Kulusevski, right? And Levy has shown one thing, and it's the windows where the manager has performed. For Conte, that was the season where he finished 4th. He backed Conte big time, right? We weren't able to get Bastoni. We did get Longley, but it was well documented that Conte wanted Longley, and that I think we bid Inter's asking price for Bastoni, and we just weren't. He just didn't want to come. And then outside of that, Conte won Longley, and that's that. But besides that, we spent 60 on Richarlison. We spent pretty big on him, and we got Perisic, which we never get a 33-year-old, right? So he backed Conte in that summer, and he failed. And Ange came in, and even though he hadn't had anything outside of a preseason game, he backed him. I think he got him some outstanding requirement. And Mickey Van de Ven has been probably he's arguably signing of the season with how great he's been. And then James Maddison, Brennan Johnson, lots of big money there. Vicario, outstanding again. And then, like I said, proactive in January. So Levy has, to his credit, when the manager was performing, he has backed him in the last 2-3 years, which I think are relevant to this conversation. And we have nothing. We have only about maybe 2. We have a backup goalkeeper we need to probably worry about for Vicario. We have a backup left back we need to worry about for Udogie. But outside of that, we have a midfielder and a winger, and there is no reason in a summer window when you only have 2. When was the last time Spurs had 2 positions to worry about in a summer window? 2. Never. That hasn't happened like in how long? 2 positions?
Long time.
There's no excuse not to hit 70 million and call it.
100%. I totally agree. But in terms of back on the Rafael Leao thing, I mean, he is having a bit of a poor season out in AC Milan this year, as well as Kvisha at Napoli. I mean, do we want to spend this kind of money on those 2 players? I know they're top quality players, but is their form and their seasons concerning?
Their coach is stuck.
3 goals this season for Rafael Leao.
Yeah. In 9 assists though, so he is still
7.
It says here 9. I got 9 assists
Maybe in
here.
all comps.
Yeah, mate. Look, when it comes to spending 100 million, maybe I guess you can definitely argue that, and especially as well with Leao. Does he have the right character that you want in the dressing room? Is he going to come as like a superstar who's going to, throw his weight around a bit? I don't know what kind of character he's. I know he's like a bit of a rapper. I know he's got that kind of side.
We've
to
got Emerson for that. We
I'm not saying he's a bad character. I don't know. But I don't know if we spend 100 million on him and he comes in as like the kind of character we want. I don't know. That's also a question mark. So there's a lot of things to consider for sure. So yeah, maybe it's too much of a risk. I don't know.
He's not like he's 20, 21, you know what I mean? He's at 24 years of age now. He should be coming in to like scoring a lot more than 3 goals at this point of the season.
And he has. Last season he was brilliant, and the season before that he was brilliant. He's having an off season. AC Milan are having an off season, and Pioli is a coach who's long overstayed his welcome at AC Milan. I mean, a lot of their players are underperforming. They have a lot of talent there, like Malik Tall, their center back. He's underperforming. Really, outside of Giroud, that entire squad is underperforming. So I don't really think it's fair to pin it all on Leao, because again, like Sim said, he still had about 10 goals and assists this season, and that's a decent return for a team that's struggling. And we know what kind of player. He was poor. He's been poor this season, but Son was poor last season. And look at him, right? Players just have poor seasons sometimes, and that's
Son was playing through injury,
right?
though.
So I personally. Wait, I don't really know Leao's situation, honestly. Maybe he's playing through injury for all I know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's safe to say there are plenty of targets that we could be splashing the cash on this summer. And one thing's for certain that we all agree on, that Spurs need to be splashing the cash on a top winger.
Well,
this summer.
It seems to be, though, that according to what we're hearing, there does seem to be like a big budget allocated to a winger this summer. That's what like the noises anyway. Like in terms of, we heard Rafinha's on the list, we heard Neto's on the list. Like I don't think that list would have been drawn up with those players on it if there's not a big budget allocated to that kind of players. So that's really positive.
Yeah, I just hope they're not looking at Rafinha just because, you know, he's not getting a look in at Barcelona and it could be a bit of a cut price deal. I don't think he's so bad. Come on.
I didn't want him at Leeds.
He's a good player, Rafinha.
I don't think so. Even when he was at Leeds, and we were there, I remember that summer where it was Rafinha or Richarlison. And I still have the tweets. I was very anti Rafinha. I don't think he's a hero ball player. He's not a fan. He's not a player that can. He's a lot like Marcus Rashford. And so maybe you're gonna look at me crazy, like, oh, Marcus. I don't think Marcus Rashford is much either. I think he's a hero ball player. I don't think he's all that. He's a player who has moments, and he doesn't have moments consistently. He has moments throughout the season, and when he has those moments, he has one game. He has even just in a game, he has one outstanding goal, and then he disappears. Even at Leeds, that's what he was, and that's why he was so good at Leeds, because it was like, what do we look to? We have Rafinha, boom, moment of magic, 3 games. That was enough to keep Leeds up. And that's why he was so good there. But even that season, he didn't have that crazy of a return. He was actually still kind of average if you look at it on paper. I don't think he's ever been the caliber of player that he's made out to be. And I think at Barcelona, that was just exposed.
Yeah, that's fair enough, to be honest. It is fair enough.
I think it's a bit harsh, Ben. No, like from what I remember from Rafinha for Leeds, like I can remember him breezing past players and smashing the ball in the back of the net quite a few occasions.
But I get what he's saying, because a lot of it was just moments in games. I'm not sure if he like dominated games for 90 minutes at a time. Like maybe. A lot of them were free kicks as well. Like in that season, he scored 11 goals. How many of them were free kicks? Like probably a high percentage of them.
No, it didn't seem like maybe 2 or 3 probably.
I reckon more than that.
Reckon?
I mean, that's still decent for free kicks. If you think about how many free kicks,
I think he's a decent player. I don't want him particularly at Spurs, but I don't think he's, I think he will definitely be a handy player for anyone getting him off.
I like him.
What about,
I like him, but I like the other options that we've spoken about more than him.
What about Brian Mbeumo from Brentford?
Yeah, I think the funny thing about Mbeumo is everybody here thinks he's like 27. He's like 23.
Yeah,
he is like 23 or 24, which when I found out, I was like, what? But he's decent. But it's like, is he better than Timo Werner? Is he really better than Timo Werner?
I think he is. To be honest, I actually think Mbeumo would have been perfect for Conte ball. I don't know about Ange ball. That's the only thing. Like if he has to like hug the touchline, I don't know if he's that kind of winger. I think he likes to be more central, kind of getting in on goal kind of play. But I do like him a lot. I think he's quick. He's got a great left foot. Very underrated. He's more of a transitional, maybe attacker. But I wouldn't be surprised if we look at him though. Being a Brentford,
he's one of those where I think upper mid-table, I think, is his ceiling. I don't think he has any place at Spurs with where I think we should be.
A few outside the box ones, maybe Dortmund have that player. Adeyemi, Villarreal have that winger as well. Pino, these kind of players, up and coming wingers from around Europe. They could also be viable options. You don't know Pino?
I think
you'll get to know. Don't you worry.
No, I know who he is, but I'm saying I don't know where the hype from him is. Every time I see him, he's like, whatever. I think he's injured right now, anyways.
Yeah, didn't he get a long big injury? Right? I think I don't know.
He got an ACL.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
And then on top of that, every time I did see him, I never thought he was anything special. I really don't know where the hype with him ever. He never seemed that dynamic 1v1. He never seemed that strong. He didn't seem like he had that great of a shot. I don't really know what he has. So I personally have never really been impressed by Jeremy Pino every time I've seen him play.
Karim Adeyemi, though?
I haven't watched a lot of Dortmund, honestly. But from what I've seen, he just seems like a very good player. He seems like a decent player. I've watched a couple of games. The thing is, mostly what I've watched is Bayern games. I watched a couple of Leverkusen games, watched a couple of Leipzig games because I think they play very fun. And I think in 2 of those games they were against Dortmund, and he seemed. I don't think he ever dominated a game. But again, he's a young player. He seems like a good up and coming fast winger. I mean, there's not much. I don't think he's not one that sticks out to me like the other ones.
He seemed a bit like a pace merchant from what I saw of him. like very quick, but
Unbelievably quick, yeah.
yeah, but I don't like whether there's more to him than that. You know what I mean? Like when he's got space to play in, he can be good. But whether I don't know whether he's like really good in those one-on-one battles. What about Chiesa from Juventus?
Oh, his injury problems as well, though.
Yeah, he's also got injury problems.
He is
What
a
a player.
top
What a
player.
player.
I love him
Yeah.
so much as a player. I think he'd be perfect for us. But again,
What a shout.
injuries are his problem.
Yeah, he's also got bad injury problems. But I wonder if we could get a, you know, maybe Juve got problems with for money, and maybe we get him cheap.
One thing that we kind of have to, I mean, can you really name me a fast player that doesn't have injury problems? Like,
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
one thing we kind of have to
Except,
even Van de Ven, right? We have to accept that. Look, if we're gonna get a fast dynamic winger, they're gonna have injury problems. I think obviously there's a limit to it. There's like Ndombele for example. Oh my god, when Ndombele first signed, he's obviously not fast, but my point is when Ndombele first signed, I'm under Poch. Remember that he played a game, get injured. Play a game, got injured. He played a game, he got injured. Right? That's obviously unacceptable. But I don't think Neto, for example, is that bad. Right? He'll get injured, so like maybe for about a fourth of the season cumulatively, but he will give you some top for that 75% that he's fit. He will give you absolute cream of the crop performances, I think. Right? He's one that you have to. He's so good when he's fit that you're like you have to just take it in the chin and go and say
yeah,
fine.
some players are worth it. Some players are worth it.
I mean, last season Neto played what? How many games?
He had a serious injury.
The year before, how many games did he
He
play?
had an ACL. What can you say? Like,
that was ACL.
Yeah, but we're talking about year in, year out. The guy's 23 years old.
yeah, but it happens. You know, it happens to players. But right now, he's the best he's ever been.
Had, since 2019, he's played 129 games for Wolves. So what is that? Divide that by 5, right? So 129.
Well, 20 game, about 23 games a season.
25, 26. I don't think that's horrible. And remember, a lot of that is look. 2019, he was like 18, so he's not fully bedded in the whole time either. So it's not like he's missing all those through injury. He might just be benched for some of it too.
You know, a player that really excites me as well that I think could be a really good option for us, but I think he's just signed a new contract with Sociedad, is Kubo. He looks like an unbelievable talent, one-on-one dribbling, successful take-ons. I mean, he's got the full package of what we need as a winger in a Postecoglou system, in my opinion. But with him just signing a new contract like last week, I think it was, he could be quite hard to get out of Sociedad. Say again?
It wasn't all that good against Iran, but honestly, the whole Japan team was shit in that second half. So I can't.
If you're going to completely just judge a player on one game, then who knows? But
you know who was
he's a top player.
Who was horrible in that Iran game. Not to. Yeah, he is. But you know who was horrible in that Iran game, by the way? Itakura. I have Itakura in that game, and I think we've been linked with him a couple times, right? That center back.
Yeah,
he was so unbelievably shit that he's the reason we won that game, by the way. I don't know if you saw the penalty that we scored in the 96th minute to win it. No reason. The ball comes in from the sky, misreads the flight completely. There's no Iranian players around him, by the way. There's at least 8 yards of space between him and the nearest Iranian player. Completely misreads the ball in the air, clashes into another Japanese player, gets up and just kicks out an Iranian player for no reason. And that really summed up how shit he was all that night. So if we ever sign him, remember that I said that for no reason.
Let's not sign him then.
It's not. He was pretty. He was so bad. Oh my god, he was so bad.
I think that's going to bring it into the paddle show. I think that's all we have time for today. So big up to you, Amir and Ariane, for coming on today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the live chat as well. Once again, we are on all podcasting platforms as well. So go and check us out on the likes of Spotify and the rest of them. But Ariane, once again, thanks for coming on. But where can the people find you?
They can find me at Ben Davis FC. The account's back up. So
I was about to say it's returned. Love that.
It has returned. I know. Yeah. So at Ben Davis FC on Twitter, that's where you can find me.
When Ben Davies is down, the account goes down. Now Ben Davies is back and starting to play again. The account makes a return.
It's like a Ben Davis comp.
Amir, where can the people find you, my friend?
People can catch me in the studio on Saturday, 3 p.m. I believe it's a kickoff.
Yeah.
I'll be in the studio, I believe, with Barnaby.
Yeah.
So yeah, do join us for the watch along, and hopefully it will be a revenge day for Spurs because we owe them one after that.
Absolutely. What's your record like with watch-alongs in terms of wins at the moment?
It's not good, Ben, at all. It's not good. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to start any jinxes or any curses or any hexes. But yeah, it's not good. So it's about time we get to winning ways.
Records are there to be broken.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for coming on today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!